Perspectives, different views, one voice.
Welcome to the Perspective Podcast. My name is Cam. Today we're going to be discussing the function or the role of the educated black man. I'm joined in the studio with
Ali,
Chris,
and Kojo.
So let's dive right into this conversation and sort of break down sort of the mechanics of the educated black man. Let's strip it back and what does it mean to be an educated black man? Because to be educated doesn't necessarily mean you're someone that went to university and got a degree. You could be educated in many different ways. You know, you could be educated through life experiences. You could be educated because you're someone who's self-taught. So what are we talking about when we say educated? I'm going to throw it out there. Chris, what do you think?
when you say educated, I thought someone who's educated, because I want to break it down into two ways and say educated in general and being an educated black man. Do you see what I mean? Because I feel like you could be educated but still not be an educated black man.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you're an educated black man, you're obviously, for me personally, you're actually self-aware, you're self-conscious about obviously your history, so your past, your present, and your future. That you know where you've come from, you know what's happening around you now, and you know what's you're trying to find out, like, you know what I mean, you're trying to be in control of your future, basically. So for me, it's someone who knows that, especially who's actually connected to the black, not lifestyle, but I'll say to his race. He's connected to it and he knows what comes. Do you see what I mean? Because obviously the actual thing,
it's more than just a
exactly.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? The social aspect, everything, as quote unquote the educated black man. But for me, also, is someone who can relate that information that he's learned to the youth. Because being an educated black man also entails a certain responsibility. That's what I feel like. So I feel like if you truly are educated, you'll obviously
impart that knowledge
exactly onto the youth.
Yeah.
So, because there's some people that they're kind of smart, but they use it for their own gain, or do you see what I'm saying? But they won't look like they're educated to the world. But they actually are educated, but it's just because they keep it to themselves, you see what I'm saying? Because they do it for their own gain, and it could be for narcissistic issues, you see what I'm saying? So it don't look that. So for me, an educated black man is someone who actually is aware of his surroundings, not just as a black man, but just aware, and who can actually impart that onto the youth as well.
But question, it's a valid point what you raised. What is educated?
So for me, when you say educated, I think educated is not just about, okay, I went to school, did this and, I went to school from a certain period, or I did higher learning.
Yeah. Higher
learning for me is higher learning in your life.
Okay.
Do you see what I mean? So it's not about, okay, I went to university. That's just quote unquote what the westernized type saying is that you're educated. Because for me, imagine all before this, that these, in the empires before, how were they getting educated? They weren't all, do you see what I'm saying? With empires before modern times.
Yeah.
It wasn't you had to go to school past a certain point to be educated. You could get scholars.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? That will teach grown men certain things in life. Do you see what I'm saying? It just all depends. You've got to learn life. To me, that's education, because you're always learning. If you stop wanting to learn life, then obviously you're not trying to educate yourself. There's that. You're satisfied with being as smart as you are at that point.
Content. So
you're not trying to. The thing is, and I always go by saying in certain things that some people will be that, and they will tell me, you're really intelligent and you're really smart and that, or whatever. But I think for me, a wise man knows that he's not really truly wise.
Yes.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because he will know there's so much knowledge in the world that he couldn't actually call himself wise.
No, beyond that.
People call him wise, but he couldn't outright go, I'm the wise man. Do you
because
see what I'm
he's
saying?
still challenging himself.
Do you see what I'm saying? There's such history we don't know about. There's such, you know what I mean, knowledge out there in the universe, not just the earth, that we wouldn't even know about.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? There's so many secrets out there So a wise man couldn't be that. A wise man would know, I'm a fool to someone else.
But
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Even just on a certain intellectual level, he would say, okay, there's someone on earth that's
More.
because with being educated also brings things like humbleness.
Yes.
So he'll be fully aware that, okay, that if I live in this country, I might be the smartest person here. But I know there's someone out there that could test my brilliance. You see what I'm saying? So for me to self-proclaim I'm the smartest man in the world wouldn't even make sense. Do you see what I'm saying? Because I don't know every man in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see what I mean? That those kind of things will let me know you're educated. That it brings the humbleness with you as well.
I understand, but where's the term that came?
Educated black man.
Yes. Where's
I
the
think
term
that's
that
social
came?
engineering.
Okay.
That's
So I think, do you mind if I chip in?
Yeah.
I just think when we talk about, I guess a lot of the stuff, I agree with a lot of stuff that Chris is saying. You have to split it into two. There's being educated in an academic type of way,
Yeah.
and being educated regarding life skills, socio-economic environment, I would say. Reason why I say this is, yes, you could have that person that has been to uni, but cannot practically understand the environment that they are in. And I say that in the sense of, you could have someone that's come out of uni, maybe they've got like a first class degree, whatever that is. However, when they go into the work environment, so they're not able to pick up the cues of their working environment and how they fit within that social environment. So you have this whole term, and I'll just get straight into it. You have the whole term of that, the coconut and all that type of stuff. When people are referring to people by that term, which is a term that should not be enduring anyway, it does not mean that the person is not educated. You are educated. No one is saying about you going to Cambridge, but you do not necessarily understand you being a black person and your role in this bigger environment. Yeah. And I think one thing I would like to say, so for instance, sometimes there is a stigma towards black people and black men, the microaggression. I've had situations where we were having a conversation, I was just a bit passionate, and as we do when you're passionate, your voice might creep up a bit, increase a bit, and then you have other people like, oh, why are you so aggressive, why are you shouting? And I'm like, no. So you see, those type of cues there, sometimes, because when you become educated, because there's this book by Paulo Coelho. Not Paulo Coelho. Paulo Coelho is The Alchemist. You're talking about the person that wrote The Alchemist, not Paulo Coelho. This is Paulo Freire, I think. He wrote The Pedagogy of the Oppressed.
Okay.
So the whole idea is that because you're so oppressed, once you become educated or you get into a position of power, you start exhibiting the same behaviors that your oppressors were at once doing to you.
So that's confidence in that sense.
Not necessarily confidence,
But
but
your mind's conditioned.
your mind is conditioned
you
to
become
keep. So you don't. What I'm saying here is breaking the obstacles that black people might face. So I'll use an example. You become well educated. You're going up in the working environment. Let's say
Is it well
you
spoken
become
though?
not even well spoken. That's got nothing to do with being well spoken.
Okay.
So let's say you become like you manage KFC, right? So you become the store manager of KFC,
Yeah.
right? But then because of your social conditioning, you might think that employing black people, people might come into that store and say, oh, how come there's only black people in this store? How come we have KFC? How come it's only employing
Just
black
like the
people?
Asian, for example.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. The Asians don't have a problem with it because the whole idea is if you have the qualification and the skill set, it doesn't matter the color of your skin.
No.
So any person that is in a position of power, black person that's in a position of power, should not feel the fear to employ other black people. Because what we try to run away from is this whole idea of that, oh, you're employing them because they're black, right? And you should be able to be in that position to have that conversation to say, I'm not employing them because they're black. I'm employing them because they're qualified. So for instance, if I am that manager of that KFC and someone walks in there from head office and they ask that question, I'm like, what, how else do you want me to answer this? There is evidence to show these people qualification. They're highly qualified, hence the reason why they're here. So you shouldn't feel challenged. But black people normally, when they find themselves in that position, they feel that if they show or if they employ people of their own kind, it could be seen some sort of preferential type of treatment. So a lot of the times what happens is that they move towards the grain by employing what the so-called oppressors might be doing. So reading this Pedagogy of the Oppressed, they use an example to say that it's almost like you have that house nigger, right? And And this is going back slavery days. So you're working in the field and you get a bit of promotion. So you become the master's go-to guy. The reason why you're in that position is because you need to make sure that the people that are working in the field are doing what they're meant to be doing, right?
Yeah.
So that's why you've got that upgrade and you got that bump.
Yeah.
Because you want to keep that position and that status and everything that comes with it.
Yeah.
And because you know what they're meant to be doing, you feel like you need to be not punishing them, but you need to be exhibiting more harsher treatment to the people in the field for the master to feel like there's no allegiance between you and the people that are working in the field, so that you are more accepted by the master type of thing. And this is the whole ideology. So when we talk about the educated black man, I see more from that perspective where you get educated, but you need to understand your social and economic structure and how you are part of that and how you could change that moving forward. It's more how I see this conversation.
For you to be educated, you have to. That's the only way. As an educated black man, not being educated, I agree with Kojo.
Wow. Yeah, that was something.
Was that?
No, but yeah,
was that a bit deep?
I agree. I do agree with what you said. You make complete sense in what you're saying.
Sorry. So a lot of the times when we have, this is what I want people to understand. And this is why I challenge people, especially people within our age group, because we are getting to positions of not necessarily power, but it will be position of influence, where maybe a word to someone will get someone employed, where maybe you're the person that's employing someone. And I don't want people to feel a certain way when they're employing someone that's black because of some of these things that have been, some of these, it's a stigma, but it's more like stereotypical views of how a black person in the professional world is meant to carry themselves. Because then it goes into the whole idea of that token black person and why sometimes even in a workplace, it feels like we're challenging each other rather than helping each other grow.
I know what you mean.
Because you are not a challenge to me. If I see you in a higher position, what I should be saying is that, how can I get there? I need to be with you to understand your struggles, to understand how I need to, be a mentor and all these type of things for the next generation to come through. Not necessarily that, I struggled so much to get here. This person is not really like me or whatever. I'm a bit special, all these cues. And that's when I'm saying the cues that, you're all right, but I don't know about this guy that just started. That guy is no different from you. It's just that your growth has been a bit more thing than that person. Do you know what I mean? And these are the things when I say the educated black man, because within the circle of our people and people that run our age, we are all getting into certain positions of influence. And we need to understand that. We shouldn't be making excuses to say, I'm not going to do this or feel a certain way. Because I learned at work. And what I learned at work, and this is why I start thinking like this, because when you're talking about the Asians doing it, the Asians just make sure that there's evidence to back those decisions. And this is what all these corporations are like. You go for an interview, is there evidence to show that this person could meet those criteria? You interview the person, you saw how good that person is. That's got nothing to do with me. But through them is how that person, do you know what I mean?
It's internal.
Just so I'm clear, it's like, so that's to do with like, so you're using it as an example, Asians in the terms of how they prep their people within their community and
they make no excuses for it. There's no excuses for it.
There's that.
They don't hide it.
They don't hide it.
They're proud of it.
It's what it is.
You can tell. Do you know what it is? Because it's just. Do you know what it is? It's covering your back.
Would you say there's a lack of that amongst?
The difference. No, the difference is like we've mentioned before. I think in other podcasts, I think you see how we just said there's the Asian community. So when they see another Asian person, they're going to be like that. Do you see what I mean? But with the black community, because it's almost fragments. Do you see what I'm saying? So not every black man, especially because of what happened with history.
There's almost a sense of opposition amongst certain.
There's definitely, because there's fragmentation. There's a schism. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? If you're talking about a lineage,
schism.
Because it's a lineage. Do you see what I'm saying? Of black people. Do you see what I'm saying? If you're looking at it, it would be like now, obviously, even to the point we have, like for me, obviously, when we was in school and that, there was the banter amongst Caribbeans and Africans and that. But for me, even when to the point when you're having comedy shows with that, like when I still see that at this age, I think this is ridiculous. Like we had banter of it, but to make comedy shows of it, and you've got people from other countries coming to watch these shows. Now you're like from outside the black community. Do you see what I'm saying? So you're making jokes, laughing at yourselves. What do you think that white man's gonna do sitting in the crowd, where he's is absorbing all these jokes and going back to his people? Do you get what I'm saying? That it's how we're portraying ourselves. Like Asians wouldn't do that to themselves. Do you see what I'm saying?
And so would you link that to? Obviously, I guess it's fair.
It's about being educated.
Linked to a lack of education.
That's what I'm saying. Because if you're educated, the thing is, if you notice with every strong, it's not even every strong, but everyone who's patriotic in their countries or just their cultures, common sense will tell you you cannot put down your own people, especially to outsiders. Do you see what I'm saying? There might be little community rifts or, do you see what I'm saying? But
No,
generally...
I see what you're saying, Chris, but I think when you go down the whole of entertainment and comedy, it's a bit, I would say
it's
slightly
it will come across
different.
it will come across
in
as
that sense.
yeah, I understand what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Even I feel ways saying that, because there's times where I've seen those jokes and I could laugh because it obviously will bring me back to school days and that. So it's not like I'm attacking it, but it's what I'm trying to say is, you see that what you said with the Asians, they will do things to help their community where they're educated enough to know that, okay, I could help him, someone who's Asian, plus I'm also helping someone who I know is qualified for the role. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I could back myself like that.
I think.
But do you see what I'm saying? I feel like
No,
with black,
I get that.
with black, it could be a hit or miss.
I think the reason why
You could get someone who might help you.
Do you think you're assuming though?
No, you could get someone. No, more time you could get someone who helps you, but it depends as well. Or sometimes you could just get someone who feels the opposite way. Like they could feel just, I don't want another black person in this in my lane. Do you see what I'm saying? That's just my experience. So
Yeah.
I can only talk
I'm not disputing what you're saying.
Yeah.
Sometimes what I feel with our community is that what I'm feeling is like our community. It feels like if I want to help, for example, I want to help you. Sometimes it's not obliged for me not to help you, but it seems like you don't want to help yourself, and because that is happening quite often.
That's what I'm saying. Because if you've already, that's what I'm saying. But it's part to do with the education.
So you're sort of entrenched in a certain mindset.
That's what I'm saying. So certain people already feel. That's what I'm saying. You get a hit or misses. You get people that feel that. Because I've had it. No, do you know why I'm saying that? Because I've been in places. I've gone into a corporation where, like you said, you look for a mentor, someone who's at management level or higher, and you think, all right, he's a black man and he looks like he's doing well for himself in this position. All he has to do is guide me, especially when, obviously, from a certain background, you know, all this person needs is guidance. Do you understand what I'm saying? Knowing you're an older person, but he feels that partly that one, I'm not obliged to you generally, obviously, because you're a grown man. When obviously we all work from 8, you get what I'm saying? So, and he also feels that, this is what I find, they might feel that you're not helping yourself because because obviously how you presented yourself from the get-go, instead of having that mindset, I'm going to try and help him no matter how he is. Do you see what I'm saying? Because that's what I feel like Asians would do. Do you see what I'm saying? That people from other communities, they would do that. I've seen them do that. If it's totally two different types of Asians, they still help each other.
Absolutely.
But I feel like a black person, if they're a certain type of lifestyle, let's say, and let's say it's more time, let's say if a street person was to come into the fold, they might be like, yo, I don't really want to get involved with you like that. I don't really want to, when I say street, but I'm saying street like a certain background. So I'm saying they're not necessarily acting street in work or something. All it is their background shows. They show they're from a working class community or something. Right. Do you see what I'm saying? So some people have a certain perception that, I've seen it like, you've walked in, you're from a working class, I know you're from a certain area, or you're from a certain community. Like, I know that even by the way you talk, that these are things he can't help because he's brought up in that community. So before he's even said anything personally about himself, he's just spoken about things at work. You're that kind of guy. I'm going to treat you like that kind of guy.
Assuming
I've seen that. Like, no one can't tell me that, it's not because it's literally...
But you're saying that's attached to, you feel like that's an issue that's common within the black community? Well, that's from your experience.
From my cool. So I always have to. I could always talk about. From my
I can speak of something completely different, bro. Let me say what I'm gonna say. Let me say what I'm gonna say. Because like even from my experience, bro, like from when I was even like at university and I was doing like work experience, I remember I met black lawyers and they helped me.
Yeah.
They helped me get work experience, like, and they were eager and willing to do that. I remember one particular barrister. He got me set up with a mini pupillage at his chambers. And I remember I sent him an email and no one ever responded. I think even a few months down the line, I told him, like, I never heard anything. He's like, you never heard nothing? It was, nah, let me, you should have told me earlier. So he went and contacted them. Within a week, they contacted me and got me in, did a work experience with them. And that contact with him was made through another black barrister. So I was, like, working. Yeah. And I met this black female barrister. And she was telling me, I was speaking to her about, like, because I was still studying, I was talking to her about my experiences at uni, and she was like, she, I guess she found what I was doing quite endearing at university, so she was like, there's a barrister, who I think you'd find really, really helpful, and she set me up with him, and even from that, the first firm I got experiences at was run by a black man. What I'm trying to say is, I've got a completely different experience. Yeah. I've had an experience where I can say, each opportunity I've had has been helped by black people. It's been helped by...
No, Andy, when you think, can I come in?
Let me add into that. Your department is totally different from his department.
That's what I'm in a profession. I'm in a profession where race is still an issue.
Because, but your department, right, there's not... It's an area whereby there's not enough of you guys. So you want to tap into it and want to expand it. Our department... This triangle, when you see it from your one, is totally different.
So what
my department is
what industry are you in?
I'm in construction.
Are there how many black people?
There's a lot.
Yeah, there is.
My department
at the bottom level.
That's what it is.
And
do you know what I was gonna say? What it is that obviously what it is your experiences are completely different because of the type of career path you're in. So, like he said, there's less black people. So when it is that, it's like being in a school where you're going to an all-white school. You see, like, you're like three black guys in the school. You see another black person, mate. You ain't got time to be rejecting him from the group.
No,
you're gonna be like, yo, bruv, come look. We need as much support as we can.
And these people are older.
And especially when they see you're a young guy who's actually got your head on your shoulder. If they see you're not stupid, they're gonna gravitate towards you.
Yeah,
bro. And the thing is, you see how you said that your experience. Cool. I get that. But let's compare it to the average black man. Do you get what I'm saying? So that's what I'm talking from.
So can I just...
your career path is your career path, and I understand that. But the average black man ain't going through what you're going through. I'm talking about the average person who's going through low, like I said, working class, low level. That's what it is.
Working in IQ.
And that's what they face.
They finish it. We have to step back a bit on some of these conversations. And I actually agree with both of what you're saying. I agree a lot of parts with what you're saying, Cam, and I do agree with where you guys are coming from. I think you mentioned one point to say how we are. It's a bit fragmented and stuff.
Yeah.
And I always want to trace this back. I'm reading a book called Brainwash. I forgot the name of the author and stuff, yeah. But when he goes back into slavery, I think what people need to understand is that black people have always been pitched against each other. That's always been the case, right? So it's always been pitched against each other. So a lot of the times, one thing we'll have to separate is that the Western world of doing things and when you go to Africa, the way of doing things are two different things. Yeah. In the Western world, we have to prove ourselves in everything that we do. Yeah. So when we're looking at that, and you're going back to slavery, where at times you're getting the fittest black man, you're pitching them against another plantation, and they have a fight till one person dies or whatever.
Like in Django.
Like in Django. That's real. Like real, where they were sitting down and then just watching them beat each other. Right? Smoking pipes. So these things have gone on, right? We've been pitched against each other for such a long time. And what we haven't is that we soaked in the culture. We're heavily influenced by what goes on in America. So people could say, oh, yeah, we live in the UK, but we are heavily influenced. Yeah, in regards to our direction regarding the black people movement, we're heavily influenced by what's going on in America. But what I was just going to touch on, the reason why I agree with a bit of what both of you are saying is that I don't necessarily think it could be the industry. However, I also believe that sometimes it's upon that person, right? So I would say personally, so from my perspective regarding where you're coming from, when I started my career, I didn't have any mentor. I didn't have anyone that I could look up to say, oh, how can I progress? But putting that aside, what I said to myself is that I need to progress. So I started asking questions. So that question might not necessarily be to a black person, it might be to an Asian person, it might be to a white person to say, oh, how do I do this? If I want to achieve this, what do I need to do type of thing? So through those questions, I ended up being in a different environment where I was able to see black people that I could see as mentors.
So you're tapping in.
But then that's the thing though. So flip side, if right now in my position, and I see a young black person, maybe they're going through an apprenticeship, because of my work, they do a lot of apprenticeships or graduate schemes or whatever. There's one thing of me reaching out to that person to say, oh, are you okay? Are you all right? Whatever not. It's not even about that willing to. The willingness is there. So if the willingness is there, whereby I see them in the canteen, I'm like, oh, how are you getting on or whatever not. We could always have that conversation, me checking up on you to see what's going on. There's a different conversation if that person approaches me to say, oh, you know what? This and that is what I'm having. Like, do you mind if I have a bit of your time just to understand a bit more about this company? But that's a different conversation. The reason why I'm saying that is because I took it upon myself to approach my mentor. I took it upon myself to say, you know what? You're in a field where I want to get to. Like, how do I do this? Because I've never really seen anyone in this position, right? And my mentor, before I did that, they were always that they'll talk to me, how you getting on, whatever not. But we didn't have that career progression type of conversation until I took it there. So I fully understand where everyone is coming from. But as I was saying, always the onus is always also on that person. You can't just go into a workplace and see a black person and automatically feel like they need to help you. Even if you feel like that, what are you? Have you approached that person? Have you had a proper conversation with that person? Because sometimes it's unfair. You can't just see someone and, they're just meant to come up to you and say, because some people feel uncomfortable about those type of approaches there, because they're thinking, am I stepping on toes? Do they think that I think I'm some sort of top boss or whatever not, that I should be telling you what to do or whatever not? Do you get what I mean? So I feel like, the conversation that we're having is right, but the reason why I agreed with Cam is that what you can understand with Cam's journey, there was almost that inquisitiveness of asking questions, right? And I always feel if you ask questions, regardless of race, people will want to help you. If people see a journey that you're on, if people you show interest, if you show genuine interest, like I have conversations with Asians and I show genuine interest even in their culture, because for me it's me learning. When you show that genuine interest in things, people are more liable to give more things away, to try to say, oh, maybe you should do this or maybe you should do that. Do you know what I mean? So I think yes, in the whole structure of it, when we talk about the educated black man, which is what we need to bring back to. So the educated black man, as I said, intellectually someone that's academically brilliant, fair enough, but someone life skills as well that understand the social concept. So the whole idea of that workplace is that once you see that person, that budding person that's coming, get a bit close to them in a sense of try to see what is it that they want. So for instance, you see them in the canteen, oh great, you're on this graduate scheme, what is your end goal? What are you looking to achieve from this, right? So a lot of the times they might not necessarily approach you, but you're trying to ask some of these probing questions just to understand where they are and see how you can fill the gaps. I think what we also have though, and maybe I have that as well, maybe there is a slight challenge where someone is coming from a background that I've come from myself personally. So maybe that's someone that's a bit more street, right? And I always said this way, where it's quite interesting, where when we had a conversation about the type of black man that you see as a negative black man, whatever not. Remember when we touched on that briefly? So it's like, when this person is in the mix, first of all, how we need to understand is that they're there because they want to learn. They won't put themselves in an organization and go through all those rigors of going through interviews if they didn't want to do something, right? So when that person, and I'm not sure how you guys necessarily feel when you see these type of things, but when that person is there as well, we need to be comfortable showing, who we are. Be comfortable to show who you are, because if it's not in a work environment, that person is not a threat to me or any type of thing. That's the people that I talk to. So in a working environment, I shouldn't act as if, oh, this person is a bit too street and I'm not street. I didn't grow up like that. I had a better type of, do you know what I mean? And I feel like genuinely, black professionals at times have a bit of that whole
conflict.
But you know what though,
that's definitely a conflict, especially in certain careers.
But you know what, to add to that, it's funny, because as I said, like even when I was doing and I was going through my journey to becoming qualified, Like, I've met lawyers that, like, I don't want to say they spoke street, but they weren't posh. You know what I mean? And
They spoke working class.
Yeah, but then they still kind of switched it up. And even to like some degree, I was kind of like, I said to them, like, I sort of kind of asked them, you know, how did you like
transition?
Yeah, fit in, transition, those sort of questions. And they were like, you know, like obviously when you're in court or when you're doing other sorts of work, you know, you're well spoken, you've got to be able to switch it. Yeah. But if you're speaking to, you know, I remember you speaking to a client, that was it. He's speaking to a client and he's speaking to the client in a particular way. And I said, when he talked to him like that, he goes like, you know, obviously he said he's speaking to the client in a way that the client can get on and understand him. It's not even like lowering himself. He didn't see it as that. He was seeing it as, you know, I'm just speaking to the client on the level. That's what it was. You know, when he goes into court, he changes it and switches it up and presents it in a different manner. But then at the same time, you know, he understands exactly where he's come from. You know, he knows what area he's come from, and he's not going to try and be something that he's not.
Exactly. That's what I've always said. That I was saying that the other day, man. You've always, I feel like, sorry to interrupt, Ali, that everyone's always got a. I feel like for me, especially as black people, I think that's a conflict with a lot of us. I feel like everyone should be able to reach the top, being whatever they want it to be, like being who they are. And I think a lot of black people feel like they can't be who they are. Trying to reach.
They don't want to reach their potential.
That's what it is. That's all I was just saying.
No, it's not. They don't.
No,
it's not what you're saying. It's more of the thing that you're saying. I don't necessarily think about anything with potential, but I'll let you make your point.
I mean, like, let's say now a guy from the streets.
Yeah.
He wants to reach the top, but he still wants to be street.
No, but sometimes they don't know what they need to do in order to reach the top.
Yeah, obviously.
And that's the thing, because this is what I'm saying. Sometimes mapping out your career path, is very difficult. And I always say to myself, hence the reason why, because my mentor has left the business, but I still keep in touch with him on LinkedIn, because sometimes mapping out your career path is. You need someone that's been there and done that. It makes it easier. It's not like you can't do it, but something that you could do in a year, it might take you 2 years because you didn't know where you need to go. Do you know what I mean? So what I found quite useful is that when I had someone where I could have conversations to say, oh, look, this is what I want to do. And then they're saying to me, okay, do A, B, C, and D. Even though you don't have that role yet, you start doing that and you'll be able to put those skill sets on your CV, which then means that you'll be able to in future apply for that role. Do you know what I mean? So sometimes those people there, the challenge that I feel like they don't know how to map out their career. They've come into an environment where they don't control that environment anymore. Do you know what I mean? That environment is new to them. Like they've seen all sorts of stuff. All of a sudden they need to change their language. They need to present themselves a certain way. Do you know what I mean? So it's those environments there. It's us that we've been able to channel ourselves through different ways. And the whole point is that you don't want them to lose who they essentially are, but you want them to be able to navigate so it makes their transition easiasier and grasp where they want to be.
I think that's important.
But then even though let
me handle what I understand of an educated black man. Well, from what I'm understanding it is like you go to school, you're educated, you know how to read and write, you can go deep, you know how to change your language and barriers. But then, as what Chris touches, I believe to be educated as well, you need to have a knowledgeable of community. You need to be very educated of community, whereby you know how to talk to people, just in general. Because I see an English man, very proud, know how to talk, they're very well spoken. But as soon as you put them in the environment of a community, they don't know how to talk. They're like a bit scared.
They're intimidated.
Yeah. Because they can't reach their community.
That's what it is.
Some of these politicians, if they were to go into some of these communities, they don't know how to handle themselves. Because
it's all about image for them.
It's all about image for them. So they're trying to do the whole spudding thing, but they know it doesn't. You know what I mean? They'll try to do the spudding thing. They'll try to say yo, or they'll try to say what pet mom is that. You know, they'll try to do things that's not intrinsic to them, that you know that this is not you. So any child or any youth or any people that they're trying to reach out to, all those messages go out. So for instance, it's like the example that you said, right? So when that lawyer is switching it up, it's not necessarily to say that, oh, you're beyond me, you're working class or anything, but it's languages that breaks boundaries. It makes that person feels comfortable with you, right? And I feel like sometimes at work, it's those type of social skills. And at work, I have managers. I've set up a meeting. I'm finishing the meeting. I'm getting managers like spud me, and I'm looking at him like, why do you feel like this is okay? Because at the end of the day, that is disrespect. If I was not black, would you be doing this? But then I've been so conflicted in sometimes where I'm going back like that. I'm like, Kojo, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, do you got me? So what I'm saying is that we will always have some of these conflicts, but a lot of the times it's understanding where we are. So, but I think regarding the educated black man, just going back on that topic, the educated black man is a lot of things. The educated black man is knowing some of the stigmas around, even when it comes to parenting, because there's meant to be absent fathers and all these type of things that I think. When it comes to your woman and how you need to treat your woman and being there for your woman and supporting the woman, this is the whole point when we talk about education, because the whole education is around our community, our people, and how we make sure that when you are educated, you are able to support and harness these type of relationships.
Yeah, I think sorry to cut you on. To add in that, you see how you just said women. I think that's for me. You see the whole perception of an educated black man. I think a real educated black man will actually know, and maybe because this is me just personally, I can only say this personally. Because obviously I feel like I'm a lot more conscious as I got older. But to be actually honest, if you actually call yourself an educated black man, you would know the real importance of an educated black woman, or just a black woman. Like, because if you actually deep everything, you'll know that women are the pillars and the cornerstones of the community. Like what you said. Do you see what I'm saying? So if you're actually saying an educated black man, you would know that, okay, I'm an educated black man in a community, a black community. What helped raise this community? What helped mold this community? What helped start this community? So obviously I am an educated black man, but what is the foundation? What's the root of this community? What's the help? What's the root of myself? Do you understand? Literally, what is the root of myself? And it's the woman. And this is why I think with this whole woke thing and just things in social media, you see a lot of black women now, they're starting to lash out. And there's just this whole conflict with how black men view black women. And I get it, because I think a lot of men don't understand it.
Where's that coming
from?
Where's that coming
It's the ignorance. It's the lack of education. They don't know themselves. They don't know their community. They don't know their history. They don't know all of these things. Because any type of man, even if you're not black, if you would be like, you would actually just know the woman plays a certain role in your life anyway. But especially as a black man though, if you call yourself an educated black man, you cannot be disrespecting like black women like that, and still call yourself an educated. It doesn't even make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
You're contradicting yourself. Like, you're actually, because when I hear man talk about women, I'm like, but wait, hold on. Your mum, your sisters, your aunties, all these people that raised you, that helped mold you, that whole food you talk about that you love, that helps you say you're a proud African or a proud Caribbean, your mums was cooking that and helping nurture you. And now that you're of a certain age, you feel the need to it just gets me so mad that you feel the need to feel that because I've slept with so many women or because I've disrespected women, I've had the power and relationship, that now you can start disrespecting black women. Like, bro, if you're an educated black man, that term, the thing is, if you say these terms, you've got to live up to it. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if you're actually, and people can see through it, because you could go on like you're educated, but you have to show, again, you're socially aware of certain things. So if you know that you're socially aware and connected to your community, you would know that you couldn't be disrespecting a black woman like that. You know that now you can't be disrespected. The black woman is basically the pillar. She's a cornerstone. Like, you've got to look after her, you've got to help protect her, because you'll protect gold. You'll protect your stash of gold, you'll protect all these things that with your life. That's how you should protect your black woman, because she's more important than all those material things. She's the future of your own society, do you see what I mean? Your lineage.
Could have said any better.
Yeah, you literally have to protect her. That she's more than gold. That you have to literally fight for her, die for her. 100%. And I just don't get how black men cannot see black women like that. Like, for me, it's like, if I see a black woman get disrespected, I'm just like, bro, that's like my mum getting, like, brother, you mad? I'll break your head.
This is the thing. This is why I don't. This is why I don't get you. And this is why we're so fragmented in even our viewpoints, because we know this, and sometimes even how people refer to women and some of the words that they might refer to a black woman, and even some of the music that we consume, how these artists are so disrespectful to black women.
That's it, raising their children.
It's shocking for me personally.
That you calling them that and put a baby in
and that's the thing. I think for a while I've always been at loggerheads with black women to be like, oh, what do you mean you're not protected or whatever? But then the more and more I did my research, is more and more I understood where they were coming from. It's because black men, we want to be able to opt out when it suits us. Yeah. So we pick up certain things when it's working and other things. Do you get me? So anyway, I think the whole conversation about the educated black man. First of all, I think the educated black man is a threat to society in regards to the whole Western concept of white supremacy. Because what happens with the educated black man, a lot of the stuff that we've spoken about regarding how they treat their women, how they treat their family, how they relate to other black people, if that concept changes, then we're not necessarily now in the whole thing of chaos. Because currently what happens is that you gain order through chaos. So if I come into your house and I could get you guys to start fighting over things, I could be taking the TV out of the door and no one will be able to see me doing all these type of things, right? So what I mean by order through chaos is that if we are all fighting amongst ourselves, there are more important things we should be focusing on in regards to advancing ourselves that we can't focus on because we're talking about the next reality show. We're talking about this person getting shot. We're talking about this person saying something. So we are always, our agenda is always moving on whatever current nonsense that's going on, rather than us actually sitting down to say, why are these things going on within our community and how can we actually move this agenda forward in order to solve problems. So I feel like the educated black man is a threat to society in the sense of the Western world, but it's also an awakening for that person to say that within this community that I live in, how can I better empower either myself and either others around me. The last thing I'll say though, in regards to finding yourself, there's a really good book called True North, which is basically becoming more authentic in yourself and why you make certain decisions or why you are the person that you are now. So it's almost like walking through how you got to where you are now. So there's a book called True North. So if anyone wants to pick up that's a good read.
So I think for me, the power in the educated black man, I think for me, I really sort of understood the power like when I read Malcolm X's autobiography. Like for me, like Malcolm X is one of my idols, and I share my birthday with him. So for me, when I read his story about how he went through certain experiences, like when he was younger, and it was only when he went to prison he learned the power of education, and that's what helped him transition into the person that we know and love, today. So for me, that there was the power of being an educated black man. And at the same time, being educated in that sense showed, a great threat to,
yes,
you could see the powers that be in society, because they could see the power he had and the strength he had in terms of being able to use the education he acquired to sort of push his movement.
But it's to see through the bullshit, not to even think.
Yeah, and you can see that in multiple examples in history where you've had educated black men who have moved certain movements. Yeah. You can see the strength they've had. It's like they say, like, I'm talking about America, like J. Edgar Hoover said, the biggest threat to America, I've said it, was the Black Panther, was black people. Like
Black Panther movement.
The Black Panther movement. He said that was the biggest threat to America because he said that showed organisation and structure within the black community, and it was an uprising. Yeah, you know what I mean. So with that being said, it shows strength in numbers. I mean, in terms of like the experience in the UK, as I said, I can only speak from my personal experience. I mean, in terms of like transitioning from, like, say, a university student to becoming a lawyer, I had experiences with lawyers like of my race who just were able to give me experience, who were able to give me opportunities that I may not have acquired if I just formally applied for them, and I'm really grateful for that. And for me, I feel a sense of duty, and I owe it to my community to do the same for others that are trying to make it into the profession. Certainly, I really believe that.
Yeah.
And for me, that's what I intend to do. I think doing this podcast as well is one way to try and reach that. But at the same time, it's not just through my words. I also want to do that through my actions.
For me, for an educated black man, is the perfect example. The Pharaoh's time, years back, they're very educated. They know what they wanted to do, what they wanted to achieve. If a black man can tap into that existing now, it will benefit a lot. And as Cam mentioned, as what Kojo mentioned, the industry, especially like Black Panther, is a perfect example. They know that once a black man is educated, they can reach that level. And because they don't want that to happen, they will do all type of means to lower us down. And for me personally, to be educated is not just to read and write, is to also to understand your community. And what Chris was tapping on your woman is very powerful as a man to recognize your home. Once you understand your home and you can build that strength, you can have the confidence to open it into the community. Once you have the confidence to open in the community, there's no fear. There's a confidence, there's maturity. To be educated is very powerful because it's like, I want to use a terms, an analogy. It's like, as a lion, you're going for your prey. But when you're going for your prey, you're not literally want to get your hunt straight away, because if you miss that, you cannot eat for the rest of the day. So you have to be very clever how you're going to sit down and monitor your prey. And once you monitor your prey, you analyze everything about your prey, and then you go for it, then you get it, and then you can eat for the rest of the day. So being educated is that kind of level. What I've noticed about a black man is that once they're educated, they forget everything what they've achieved, and they can lose it. You can lose your power. We need to understand that you can lose your power, and once you lose your power, you have to go back again on the bottom, and then you have to restart again. And this podcast that I'm doing personally, for me anyway, is to reach out there, especially the younger youth. And I think majority of it, they are lacking. It's not because of their fault, it's because of their homes and because of their own community as well. We're not helping. And I think that will be a good thing. If they're listening to this, it will be very important for them to take it on board and have a mentor, but also reach out to the mentor, not the vice versa, to thinking a mentor should be reaching out to them, but they should reach out to the mentor and show more interest within themselves. So that's what I think is the most important thing.
Yeah, with an educated black man, for me, it can, like I said, mean a lot of different things, but again, the main thing is someone who is aware of their surroundings, socially aware of everything, their community, knowing how to protect their community, knowing how to want to elevate their community, elevate their family, elevate everything that's there to them. Someone who's always willing to learn, who's always willing to grow, he never just accepts that, okay, I'm just an educated black man or I'm just smart. It's someone who's actually willing to literally be like what the ancients were, like what Ali said, that like the Egyptians, that you know that you could actually be we can build empires. I think a lot of people forget that we built empires. You understand? And an educated black man would actually know the power of an educated black man. So he would want to always become more educated. I think a lot of people do just feel like they underrate education. They underrate being smart. I think because we're in a world nowadays where you can get a lot of money from not being smart, from doing other things, from imagery, for things like that, so they forget the power of being educated and of being smart. You've got to actually comprehend it to understand that this is what will move not just yourself but your people forward. I'll just leave with the Malcolm X quote, education is the passport to the future, for tomorrow belongs to those who prepare for it today.
Until next time, that's the Perspective Podcast. If you want to see what we're getting up to or get any updates on our podcast, you can catch us on Instagram at LDN Perspective, and you can also find us on Twitter at Perspective LDN. If you have any topics that you want us to discuss in any future episodes, then please email us on ldnperspective@gmail.com.
Perspectives, different views, one voice.